my colleague Jimmy with us. Make sure you stay with me and Jimmy at all times. Our main rule today, guys, is that we stay together as a group, so please don't wander off. Make sure you stay with us. If anyone needs to use the toilet or anything like that, just let one of us know first. Please don't eat, drink or smoke inside the stadium. The no smoking rule does include the use of e-cigarettes, and if you could put your mobile phones onto silent for me as a matter of courtesy, that would be great. But in terms of taking pictures, you can take pictures anywhere. There's no restrictions.
Great.
I've got a couple of questions for you guys before we start. First off, we're all Man United fans, yes?
Yes.
Yes? Wasn't very convincing. Put your hand up if you don't support Man United then. Let's have a few. Who do you support, mate?
The other Reds.
You're the other Reds, the Scousers? Bloody hell. Right. Can't get much worse than that. That's a great start. No, it's alright. You're not the first Liverpool fan we've had on, so you can tell me that. Go on. Sunderland. Doncaster. Anybody else? Cool. So the rest of you are Man United fans? Excellent. Alright, guys. Is that everyone, Jimmy? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to make our way around the stadium now, guys. We have a little bit of a walk before we see the stadium for the first time, but it's well worth it. So once again, just stay together. Go on this way. So you know, guys, above your heads right now are 25,500 seats, and what this one stand alone is larger than some Premier League stadiums. Okay. It's been named after Sir Alex Ferguson. We've all heard of Sir Alex Ferguson, yes?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so once again, not convincing. He is the most successful British manager ever. He won 38 trophies in 26 years, so you must have heard of Sir Alex Ferguson. Like I said, we named the stand after him in 2011 to say thank you. You are about to see the stadium for the first time, guys. Can I ask that you take a seat first and then start taking your pictures, just so everyone can get up and into the seats, okay, guys? So make sure you take your seat first. This way.
Ooh.
I don't know if you know, but last season, our friends here at Old Trafford had this season companion along with them as well.
Right down to the end, mate.
Okay, get the video.
Right down to the end, guys. Right down to the end, guys. Thank you.
The other one, our mates all visiting.
Right down to the end. Right down to the end.
Chalana.
Suppose you watch the end of TV. That gantry there is where most of the TV pictures come from. On there, they've got 7 cameras and 21 people. What's up to you, mate?
Okay, guys. Good afternoon. I think it's only fair that I welcome you once again to Old Trafford. Now you've seen it for the first time. You are now sat in the largest stadium in the Premier League. Its current capacity is 75,500, which makes this stadium the largest by quite some number, because the second biggest is the Emirates, where Arsenal play, and that's 15,000 seats smaller than Old Trafford, so we stand alone as the largest in the Premier League. As I mentioned, 25,500 of those seats are in the Sir Alex Ferguson stand over to your left. Like I said, we named that stand after Sir Alex in 2011, and there's a couple of stadiums which we could fit in that one stand, like Burnley Stadium, Bournemouth. Their stadium holds 11,000, that one holds just over double Bournemouth Stadium. Directly opposite you guys, at the end of the field, the stand with the Adidas logo in it, that there is the East Stand. Nothing special really about the name, but that's where Man United as a business is run from. It used to be known as the Scoreboard End, And some of the older Man United fans will still call it the scoreboard end out of habit, but the old manual scoreboard is long gone. We now have 4 electronic boards, 1 in each corner, and there's one just up there, so you know what you're looking out for. So we simply call it the East Stand. On your right, the smallest stand in the stadium, the Sir Bobby Charlton stand. Have you all heard of Sir Bobby Charlton?
Yes.
Yeah, most of us, fantastic. So he played for Man United for the first time in 1956, retired in 1974, and in that time scored 249 goals. That was the club record until January this year, when a certain Mr. Wayne Rooney scored his 250th goal and took the record from him. But Sir Bobby Charlton's still a director of Man United. He's been here for 60 years. So to say thank you for his 60 years of service, we named that stand after Sir Bobby last year. And don't be deceived, it's very small, but that's where all the VIP areas are. We're going to go behind the scenes a little bit later on and see some of those areas. A couple of the parts that we won't be going to include the television gantry hanging from the roof. I think it's safe to say you can understand why we won't be going up there today. That's where 80% of your footage for television comes from. A lot of people come to Old Trafford and say the pitch looks smaller in real life. Does anybody feel like they agree with that today, yeah? Simply because you get a bird's eye point of view from that platform and it makes everything look a little bit bigger on TV. It's also where you'll find the matchday commentators, the commentators from around the world, and the written press all sit at those great tables. You see just a rectangle section of great tables in the seating. That's where the written press and the radio commentators and commentators from around the world sit. And we have 2 television studios, those 2 grey boxes just on your right, with the big front windows. Okay? And the stand that we're at the bottom of now, guys, this is called the Stretford End. Most famous part of Old Trafford. This is where the most passionate Man United supporters will sit. Well, stand. Where the singing and the chanting comes from. We'll find all the nutters, the hooligans. We've all heard of the Stretford End, I'm assuming, yeah? Every stadium in England has its popular end. This is ours. And it gets its name from the area Manchester called Stretford. You won't believe it, it lies behind you, the Stretford End of the stadium. And we've played football here on that pitch for 107 years. So it's a very old football stadium. Football club's a little bit older. It was formed in 1878, but we moved here in 1910 and we've been here ever since. Now the pitch doesn't look too great at the moment, and that's because in the summer months we do a lot of work on it to make sure it's absolutely pristine for the start of the next season. We don't do as much work on it as we used to do because we now have something known as a Desso system, and that means that the pitch is 97% real and 3% is nylon. Now that nylon is underneath the surface of the grass. And as the roots grow down, it wraps around the nylon and it keeps it firm. It simply doesn't rip up. And then every summer, we shave away the top layer of the grass, we don't touch the roots, and we reseed it, and it grows through thicker and thicker every year. Cost us just short of £1 million, but it will last for 10 years, so not a bad investment, especially when you consider, you know, we've spent £90 million on one player last year. £1 million for a pitch that's going to last 10 years is not a bad investment. And for those who have followed Man United for a long time, you'll all know that we used to have one of the worst pitches in the country here at Old Trafford. Now, when the Desso system is fully grown, it's almost perfect. And you'll find it at all the major stadiums in Europe. So in this country, the Emirates has the Desso system, Wembley has it. In Europe, you'll find it at the San Siro, the Allianz Arena, and the Nou Camp, the Bernabeu. We've all got this type of pitch. Do you have any questions about anything you can see so far, guys? I've just hit you with a lot of information there. Any questions? No?
Just that putting new seats in, I suppose, over there, right? Is that what's going on?
Well, should admit, I keep forgetting that they're actually doing that. I'm so used to it being normal. What we're doing is, where it says manunited.com in the corner, those are our accessibility platforms. You see 3 platforms coming round. We currently offer 120 spaces for those who may need a wheelchair. As you can see, we're expanding these platforms right round to the letter E in United, and when the work is finished, we will offer 270 spaces to those who may need a wheelchair, plus 270 amenity seats for those with walking difficulties, the blind, the visually impaired, and other learning difficulties and stuff like that. Over 500 spaces for our MUDSA members, and MUDSA stands for Manchester United Disabled Supporters Association. So we're very proud to announce that we're expanding those platforms, guys.
Great.
Yes, so the capacity will roughly go down to 74,000. So we think there are strong rumours in the pipeline that we're going to finally build on the Sir Bobby Charlton stand. We've always been limited by the railway line and the private housing estate just behind it. But there's rumours coming from local newspapers that we might finally build on that stand. We'll have to wait and see. Right, so we're going to make our way now to a pretty unique part of Old Trafford. It's called the Family Stand. From there we'll go on to the dressing rooms. If you'd just like to stand up, come this way.
Going to the dressing room.
Alright guys, so as I said, this part of the stadium is known as the Family Stand, and as you can see it looks a little bit different to the rest of the concourses you've been walking through. You've got a lot of facts and statistics on the wall. It's a lot more child friendly in this area. As we make our way along it, you'll see different things on the walls for the kids to look at. On a match day you'll also find someone like painting faces down here. There's somebody making balloon animals. It's the only part of the stadium which sells popcorn. And there's a child-only kiosk, so they don't have to queue up behind all the parents buying beer. And most importantly, most impressively, it's cheaper to get a ticket in the Family Stand than it is anywhere else in the stadium for the kids. Okay. There's also a draw which takes place here. Names go into a hat. You win things like scarves and stuff like that on a match day. And there's also a zero tolerance of abusive language, which is very good. But in practice it doesn't work because it's right next to the Stretford end. And there is not a zero tolerance of abusive language in the Stretford end, sadly. But it's a good idea. To make sure that it's available for us so we're not waiting on the stairs to get in. Going
to the dressing room.
Home team, so it should be going into the away out. We've been down there 4 minutes, 5 minutes, so I think
Has Eddie go out?
you've got 1 through 3, so we went down about 4 or 5 minutes ago. So I imagine we'll be filtering his way through now.
Right, I'll try and radio him again. Down to Bill. Oh, as we go through, these doors lock behind us, so make sure you keep it open for the person behind you.
I'm only here for covering breaks. Actually, I stuff that looking in, didn't I?
Why did you have to do it? Why could Sharon not do it?
No, I think it's got to go on some sort of saw or some description. Anyway, it's all done now. Unbusted.
Spur guides. Okay, just coming out.
Yeah.
Just that way, guys.
Manchester United dressing room.
Alright guys, we'll leave you to your photos for the next couple of minutes, get loads in. Before we leave, we'll tell you about the dressing room. Well, this is your time. Is it a test off from there? No. Yeah.
So not that basis.
Is it one day?
It's 1 day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're right.
You were first, you both first. Okay everyone, if you want to take a seat for me, everyone just pop down on the benches. There's definitely enough room, get nice and cozy. Okay, so welcome to the Manchester United dressing room. Now, common question that is asked when people come in here is always, is this the real dressing room? And the answer is, of course, yes. This is not fake, it's not a replica, this is the real room. Now, where the shirts are hung up from Phil Jones to Jesse Lingard, there are 18 spaces laid out with Man United badges above them. That's where your 18 players in your matchday squad sit. In this corner here, we've hung up shirts for the tour's benefit. On match day, nobody sits in this corner except for Kitman and his team. No players. Players sit in this half of the room. Now, there's a certain order to the dressing rooms. It's the way the shirts are laid out. The players don't really sit where they want to, not as much as they used to do. From Romero to Rashford, that's the starting 11. That's what the starting 11 sit. And the defensive substitutes sit here, and the attacking substitutes sit there. That's how the kit man sets out the shirts. But of course, if players really want to move, sit with the friends, then that's fine. But that's how the kit man lays it out. Okay? Because they have such a tight schedule, and they're always in and out of the medical room and the warm-up area just outside, and they go out to walk with the ball on the pitch, stuff like that. Having specific seats in the dressing room isn't really that important anymore because the players are constantly moving around got a lot to do. Everyone needs to have a massage before the game. You all need to do some light stretching. You have to warm up the ball. So having a specific seat in the dressing room is becoming less important because you've got so much to do before the game. You have your tactics boards here and your television. Television just shows Sky Sports, doesn't show clips of the opposing team because they've already seen all that footage, and Jose Mourinho doesn't go in for video analysis that much anyway. And tactics boards, once again, not used too much because they've already done it all at the training ground, and they are professional footballers, they know what they're doing. Tactics boards mainly used at half time. Now once the game is finished, the players can use the wet room. There are 6 showers and 2 baths down there. The baths are chest height, and the water inside is set roughly at 3 degrees Celsius, so very, very, very cold. And every player that plays has to have an ice bath after the game. That significantly improves the recovery rate of the footballers. It used to be optional, now they don't have a choice. Everyone has to have an ice bath. Any questions, guys? Anything you'd like to know about the changing room or players' routine? No? Yes, sir?
Is it the place Sir Alex Ferguson kicked the boot?
So the dressing room has changed a lot since then. It's roughly in the same area, if that incident actually happened. But where that clock is on the wall, the room just starts to bend slightly, and that used to be the original wall of the dressing room. And the first door you walked in actually took you into the centre of the changing room, as it was known when Beckham played here. But in 2008, it all got changed. It got moved over in this direction. So sadly, if it happened, we don't know where it happened.
Where's the lockers?
So they simply don't need lockers because the kit man provides everything for them. They'll just turn up. They used to wear a suit, now they kind of just wear a tracksuit. Hang up the tracksuit on the peg, and the kit man lays out the warm-up gear, and once they're warming up, the playing gear. And then everything gets thrown in this red circle, gets taken away. We believe that the reason they don't have any lockers is because Sir Alex Ferguson didn't want any separations between players. He wanted a nice open room so they're all together. Of course, lockers give people places to hide if not having a good game. Okay. Right, we're going to head next door and see how the other half live. We're going to see the visiting team changing room. It's a little bit different. Come this way.
This is a home dressing room. Warm-up area. We're going to the visiting team dressing room. Manager's lounge.
You can see this changing room is a little bit different. It's not as nice, it's a lot brighter in here, it's a little bit smaller. You have all the same facilities but on a smaller scale. It's just not as nice. And that is the same as every other stadium you'll find in this country. Every away changing room is always poorer than the home team. But most are a lot worse than this. The reason ours isn't dreadful like the rest is because we can host cup finals here at Old Trafford. So even though it's not as nice as our changing room, it's still a decent standard. Some of the cup finals that we've held there in the past include the Champions League final in 2003. AC Milan played Juventus. And every single year we host the Rugby League Grand Final in October. So we have to have dressing rooms of a decent standard. And the shirts hung up are simply some of the great players that have used this changing room at some time in their careers. Either against Man United in the Champions League, like Beckham, Ronaldo, Messi and Zidane, or playing here on one of those neutral or international occasions. So Maldini in the Euros, Giggs in the World Cup qualifier when Wembley was being rebuilt and Wales played England. Abby Wambach, the world's leading goal scorer, she's scored 183 goals for the United States, which is quite an achievement when you consider the leading male goal scorer scored 110. And Jonah Lomu, I mentioned we play rugby here at Old Trafford, we don't play rugby union. He's arguably the greatest rugby union player ever, but it's too heavy on the pitch. We only play rugby league here at Old Trafford now. he played in one of the last rugby union matches played at Old Trafford. Right guys, we're going to make our way to the oldest part of Old Trafford, and from there to the dugouts where you'll find Jose Mourinho and the coaches and the subs on a match day. Come on this way. Go, you give me a gather around, guys. Need space there.
Out of curiosity, the Pizzagate thing happened.
It happened in that corridor. Oh. Yeah. So where the away team changing room is, just if you will, coming out the away team changing room, you said right. The first door on your left was the manager's lounge, so it was very close. That's where Fabregas to the pizza. Is that everyone? Yeah. Yep. Alright guys, so in a moment you're about to walk down the original Players' Tunnel. These white walls, these concrete walls, are the only part of Old Trafford which survived the Second World War. The stadium was hit by stray bombs and it burnt down. We had to rebuild the stadium in 1945, and when we came to rebuild, we found this tunnel still standing. So keep that in mind when you make your way down it. It's 107 years old. Not only that, you're going to be following in the footsteps of some of Man United's and some of football's greatest ever players. You see some of these players on the walls here, aren't you? From here you've got, starting with Johnny Carey, who lifted St Matt Busby's first trophy in 1948. Got players like Sir Bobby Charlton and Georgie Best, who were also on that wall with Dennis Law, the United Trinity. Players like Mark Hughes, Cantona, even a very young Beckham and a very young Ryan Giggs. We stopped using this tunnel in 1993, and the reason because we stopped using it is the tragedy at Hillsborough in 1989. It became law for all stadiums to provide emergency access. So we had to build a new tunnel large enough to accommodate emergency vehicles, and this one became obsolete. But we kept it for your guys' benefit, so you can appreciate the oldest part of Old Trafford. So from players who played for Man United from 1993 onwards, they won't have used this tunnel. Okay, just waiting for that group to fully vacate the area, then we're going to head down. Also, you can sit in the dugout, sit in the seats. Sit in the seats, guys. Go on up.
Okay, one thing, guys.
Bye, son. Coaches, subs in like little bush shelter type setups right by the side of the pitch, but ours have been pushed back and raised up because the field here at Old Trafford has always been raised. Originally it was raised for drainage. We get a lot of rain in Manchester. Now it's raised because we have undersoil heating, and it was already raised when we put the seats in. So if we were to now lower it, which we could technically do because we push all the undersoil heating down, we could lower it, but the people in the seats will be looking at the fence. So we need to keep it raised so everyone can see the game. You'll find Jose Mourinho on the first seats on the first row. That's where you'll find Jose Mourinho. That's one there, yeah. You'll find his coaching staff next to him. The majority of the subs on the middle row, and the back row is reserved for his kit man, the club doctor, first team physio. And our new players tunnel, guys, is over in the corner. You can currently see that roof is raised up just above it. That's to allow the machines that are working on the pitch to get access to the stadium. But on a match day, in the event of an emergency or a disaster, we could do the same and get ambulances and fire engines onto the pitch immediately. And that's the reason we built the new tunnel. Just at the bottom of the original tunnel, you just walk down, there's a black square that says OT100. Down there is a time capsule placed down there to celebrate playing football here for 100 years. Down there is nothing too valuable, but it's things that the fans have donated with sentimental value, like matchday programmes, old scarves, ticket stubs, things like that, guys. DVDs are the greatest moments. And we're going to open it up in 93 years' time when Old Trafford turns 200 years old. What we're going to do now, guys, is we're going to make our way to those plastic seats just in front of the director's box. We're going to have a little sit there, take some more pictures, and we'll have another chat. If you just want to follow me this way.
Just dawned on me.
Okay, everyone, do quickly. Yeah. Okay guys, you are now sat in the most expensive plastic seats inside the stadium. So for the normal fans, the average fans, these are the most expensive seats and they'll cost you £53 per game if you buy them in the club, of course. And the cheapest seats in the stadium are behind the goals or up in the third tier, the Sir Alex, and that's £27 per game. Per season, you're looking at 530 to 950. So the most expensive season ticket at Old Trafford is still cheaper than the cheapest at the Emirates where Arsenal play. The reason these are the most expensive seats are not only because you get a great view, but you're sat right behind the dugouts with the subs the manager are, and you're sat in front of the director's box. So on a match day, if you were sat here and you were to turn around and look behind you, you would see Sir Alex Ferguson and you would see Sir Bobby Charlton. They never miss a home game. You also see the likes of the Glazer family and Mr. Ed Woodward. And in the other half, you'll see all of our honoured guests, because to get into the director's box on a match day, you must be invited. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that when we go into the VIP lounge in just a moment. I've pushed it off as much as I can, but I think it's only fair that we now talk about the away fans. So a few words to go here. The rest of the Liverpool fans sit in that corner there to the right. You've got some green next to there, that's very fun. And it's deceiving, but that corner holds 3,000 people. And that is the maximum that any Premier League club can offer the away team. 3,000 seats. Unless it's a cup game. If it's the FA Cup or the League Cup, we can offer 9,000. And you get that whole corner, plus the entire upper tier of the East Stand. 9,000 seats. And conveniently placed just above them is our stadium control room, that little grey box, and the police station is there on a match day. Does anybody have any questions, guys? Just to mention, there's another group of people that also have their names on their seats, and on that empty row just behind you, you might be able to make out a few. If you can't see any of the names, look around the lower tin and see little silver dots, especially around the letter T in Manchester. Those are the names. If you have had your season ticket for 25 consecutive years or more, your name goes on the seat. And you can see just how many people have been supporting Manchester United for decades. And I can assure you, those in the lower tier of the stand have been coming 50, 60 years with them. Okay, and that's just a little bit of a reward for the club to say thank you to such loyal supporters. Now this is your last opportunity for photographs inside the stadium. We have a couple more VIP areas to see, but please take a few photos now and then we'll move on. But we have to stay seated, I'm afraid, guys. Take a few photos. Guys, so this is the VIP lounge, and as I mentioned just outside, you have to be invited into this area of the stadium. You can't buy a ticket. Now, some of the people that were invited in the past include the likes of Usain Bolt, Rory McIlroy, David Beckham, even the actress Julia Roberts was invited in here at the start of the season. And that's the type of people you'll find in here, guys. Along with the owners and directors of both football clubs. You'll actually find the owners and directors of Man United just through the room on the doorway on the platform. That's the private director's lounge, and it's even more exclusive than this room. Now we're going to make our way into the press conference theatre, guys. Okay guys, so welcome to the press conference here at Old Trafford, the press conference room here at Old Trafford. It's a very historic and famous room. From the start of the Premier League in 1992 until 2002, this was the football club's main press conference theatre. So for 10 years, this is where we made every announcement, and that includes the signing and the presenting of new footballers. Now, some of the players to sit at that desk and sign their contracts to play for Man United include the likes of Eric Cantona, Andy Cole, Dwight York, Teddy Sheringham, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ruud van Nistelrooy. They're just a few of the great players that we've had signed in here. Now the reason we stopped using it is because it simply isn't big enough. So the room holds just over 60 people. And when we signed Paul Pogba, we attracted over 200 journalists to his press conference. Man United and the Premier League in general has simply outgrown a room of this size for major announcements. So for the last 15 years, we've either used the Aon Training Complex over in Carrington, or we convert one of our hospitality suites into a makeshift press theatre. In fact, sorry about that. In fact, the only time this room is used is on a match day. Once the game is finished, the managers will speak with the written press in here. So once the game is finished, first they'll speak to the television cameras with the BBC, with BT Sports, with MUTV, and then they'll come up to here and speak with the written press and the radio journalists. Okay? We do televise it, but we'll only show clips of it if something controversial has been said. And if you remember the last home game of the season against Crystal Palace, there was quite a controversial press conference in here. Jose Mourinho walked in, asked if they had any questions, and then left before they had a chance to ask any questions. Okay? It lasted for around, like 7 seconds or something like that. And usually it lasts a little bit longer than that, normally around 7 minutes. So something like that, that is televised. But for your normal, bog standard interview, it's kept exclusive to the newspapers. And like I said, it's the only time we use it, guys, because it's simply not big enough for any major announcement.
But this is your last opportunity to ask any questions. It's also the right place to ask any questions. Anybody got a question? I've got a question for you then. Man United going to win the league next year?
Yes.
Yes?
Of course.
I like his confidence. Okay, come on this way, guys. We'll take you to the shop. Okay, guys, so this brings us to the end of the tour here this afternoon. I'm going to let you into the shop now. When you get in there, everyone is entitled to a free souvenir to take with you around the stadium. If you'd like this free souvenir, when you head in the shop, you work your way to the far left-hand corner to the customer services desk. When you leave the shop, if you take the left, it will take you back around to the museum. You'll take to get you back inside. Feel free to go around the museum. The last thing to say is, of course, on behalf of myself, Daniel and Jimmy, it's been an absolute pleasure showing you around the stadium this afternoon. I hope you've all enjoyed it. Have you? Yes. Well, thank you very much, guys, and have a safe journey home. Come on this way.